All right, so to start off, we have to ask ourselves these questions like, how does our body know how to move? Those movements can be voluntary or involuntary. How do we know how to raise our arm and lower our arm? How does our body know to blink? How does our body know how to breathe? How does our body know how to move in general? How does our body know how to make blood cells or when to make blood cells? How does it know to breathe? How does it know to breathe more when you're running outside versus you don't have to breathe as much when you're asleep at night? How does your body know how to move blood? How does your heart know how to pump? How does your body digest food? How does your body even know that you're hungry and send you signals to eat, to ingest the food, then digest the food and break it down and send all of those things to the different parts of your body? How does your body filter liquids? Because in the excretory system, it's almost like you have like a strainer in the kitchen and you've dumped maybe like a pot of boiling water and spaghetti in the strainer. The water goes through. That's what your body wants. The stuff left over in the strainer is what your body gets rid of. That's kind of, well, sort of the way the kidneys work. We'll come back and cover that. But how does your body know how to do all of this? It's almost like something is sending signals and information to each system. And if that's what your thought is, and some of you have probably already jumped ahead because, well, number one, you know the only system left. Some of you are maybe starting to come to this realization that, yes, there is something that's sending signals to all of the different parts of the body at all the time. And this is the nervous system. The nervous system is made up of the brain, the spinal cord, and a large, huge, like vast amount of nerves. And you can see that in the background here. You can see the brain, you can see the spinal cord, and then you can see branching out all over the body are all of those nerves. And it covers all over the body. That's how you know when you've touched something hot and you move your hand away. There's a very quick signal that goes from your hand to your brain saying that's hot, you should move your hand. And the signal goes back to your hand saying, hey, you need to move. But you know how fast that is. It's amazing how quickly those signals can be sent. And the way that those signals are sent is pretty awesome too. The nervous system helps our different parts of the body communicate. And it allows our brain to control what's going on. Without the nervous system, our brain wouldn't know what was going on with the outside world. It wouldn't know that you just touched something hot and wouldn't tell your body to move your hand. And therefore, you would severely damage your hand on a hot stove if your brain wasn't able to receive signals and send signals back and forth across your body. The brain and the spinal cord make up what we're going to call the central nervous system. Now, again, this is just nervous system. You're good. These are just some facts that we're putting out there. The rest of the nerves together are the peripheral nervous system. Again, the nervous system is fine. If you really are into this and you learn central and peripheral, fantastic. If you don't, it's all good. Don't worry about that. But this is all the nervous system. So now we've kind of talked a little bit about the organs that we're really going to start focusing on with the nervous system. And we have the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves. Those are the things that you need to put down in that box. So you can go ahead and check that off. Nerves are, I know that I put in the notes here are sort of like wires. They are, but they are carriers of communication. They're a lot like maybe phone lines or the internet lines that carry information and signals and impulses all around the body. Inside each nerve is a bundle of nerve fibers. Some nerves are really long, like the ones that go from your foot to your spinal cord. It's a pretty long nerve. And these nerve cells are called neurons. There are two main types of nerves, motor nerves and sensory nerves. Motor nerves allow the brain to control your muscles. Okay, think about movement and motors. Anything with movement, the brain is controlling that. The second type of nerves that we have are our sensory nerves. These nerves take signals to our brain and let our brain know what's going on outside of the world. And we're talking senses: touch, sight, taste, smell, hearing. So the nervous system is obviously attached to the skin, your eyes. It's attached to your tongue so that you can taste things. It's attached to your nose so you can smell things, and those The tongue and the nose work together because that really enhances your sense of taste. Because think about when you have a really bad cold, sometimes your food doesn't really taste at all. And your ears with your hearing, all of these things come from the nervous system. So when you're talking about some of the functions of the nervous system, well, it moves you and it senses things from the outside. Two things that the nervous system can do. In the peripheral, the nervous system that's not in the central, the peripheral nervous system, there's two main sets of nerves: autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system. So let's go back to those involuntary muscles. Let's think about those involuntary muscles. Those involuntary muscles that we talked about have not gone away at all. I needed you to remember that. That's part of the reason why we've talked about all of this and are wrapping it up with the nervous system. We need to talk about the autonomic nervous system. This set of nerves works automatically, right? Autonomic, automatic, they are very similar words. We don't have to think about these. The brain does it all for you. If I had to think about breathing, think about my heart beating, think about blinking, I would be dead before like one class period was over, because sometimes I forget where I leave my pens in the room, much less remembering to breathe and to digest and for my heart to beat. I would fail miserably. So the autonomic nervous system takes care of all of that for you. It does it automatically. Now, obviously, that leaves some other muscles in our body, those voluntary muscles. Those are from the somatic nervous system. These nerves we actively control, jumping up and down, right? Moving our arms up and down. Those are things that we control. And those are from the somatic nervous system. Now, all of those things are super important. And the thing with the nervous system is we're really probably going to get really even deeper into what it does. Now, I mean, what's the main function of the nervous system? Well, it controls all the other body systems. Does that mean it's the most important? No, because if you didn't have the circulatory system, the brain wouldn't be getting the blood and the oxygen that it needs from the respiratory system and the circulatory system, and it would die pretty quickly. So you can't say it's the most important, but it does control everything. So it has a huge importance. I don't think that you can label one as the most important because, well, they're all super important. And the nervous system, obviously, it does a lot of things. I mean, it controls the entire body. So, I mean, as far as like the functions, well, I mean, the biggest function is it controls the entire body. I would probably take some of the things that we see on the app when we're looking through that, and maybe talk a little about some of the extra things that you see on there, like what does the nervous system do? What's its functions? Well, it controls the whole body. We'll get a little bit more specific. It helps you to see. It helps you to hear. It helps you to feel things. It helps your lungs to move. It helps you understand when you need to use the restroom. Like all of those things are wrapped up in the nervous system. And now we're going to take a few minutes to take a look at that. All right, so we're going to take a look at the nervous system. And the nervous system, oh my goodness, and you're going to see that there's so many different functions on here. But if you notice on the nervous system, like if I were to touch Parker's hand, there's a signal that goes from her hand up her arm into the brain, letting her know, hey, someone just touched your hand, right? If you're being really mean, I'm going to take this pen, right? And if I poke someone with a pen, like you feel it, right? It sends a signal into your brain, and your brain says, as you can see up there in the corner, like up here every once in a while, hey, I don't necessarily like that. That hurts. If you're walking through the woods and you hit like a patch of briars and they poke you, you realize it very, very quickly. And that comes from your sense of touch because the nerves are connected to your skin. Well, it's not just your skin. Right? If Parker was outside and there were a whole bunch of mosquitoes biting her, she would hear it, right? And she would say, I don't like that sound that's buzzing in my ears. She would swat her ears. If it bit her on the arm, it would start to itch. And look at all of these crazy signals being sent. I mean, it's insane how that happens. Now, maybe she walks into class one day and Miss Levy has flowers. Do you see how that scent is going in her nose? And it's sending a signal to her brain, hey, I smell flowers. Maybe she's sitting beside someone in class who decides to fart. You smell that. Your body says, that's nasty. I don't want to be anywhere near there. Maybe just to be mean, Parker's dad, when she's asleep one day, sneaks into her room and tickles her, if I can get the feather to work, with a feather, right? Trying to mess with her. Well, her body senses that. It feels the touch of that. Hopefully this doesn't happen, but if it did, if there was a bee, is he going to sting her? Yep, look at that. Bee stung her arm. Not very happy about that, because you start to pick those things up with your body, and your body says, I don't like that. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at, I won't say the main organ, but yeah, probably the main organ, the brain. Okay, I've never seen that happen before. Yes, let's go. Open up the brain. There we go. So here we go. If we look at the brain, well, the brain has different things stored in different areas. And if we look at that, probably can open up some of that here, not in Espanol or in France or in German or, nope, there we go. So if we look at, we have the basal ganglia, the parietal lobe, we have the cerebellum, the amygdala. Now look, there are different things stored in different parts of your brain. So if we look here, there's different things stored here, different things stored here, different things stored here, and this little guy here does some of the major functions of your body without you really having to worry about it. But let's look a little deeper into that. Let's look at the eye. The brain controls the eye and everything the eye sees. I think this thing, yep, you can kind of see my hand maybe. Let me get this out of the way. I have my iPad laying. See my hand, my hand waving there on the eyeball? It should be like right here. The eyeball's looking straight up from my desk, right? It's sending signals through the brain. Now, you go to the doctor sometimes, and what do? They shine a big bright light in your eye. What that does is it makes your eye constrict, because your eye's trying to limit the amount of light that's coming in. That's a very important factor as well that needs to happen. But it's not just the brain and the eye that have a relationship. It's not just the brain and the skin, the nose as well. And we kind of saw this a minute ago. Maybe it's lunchtime, and she starts to smell food. What do you notice down here? Let's watch down. This is really important down here. Watch what happens when she smells food. What's going on there? Hopefully you've kind of figured this out. This is your salivary glands preparing for that food to enter your body. And we know that the salivary glands and the teeth and tongue are one of the first things of the digestive system. So it's connected to that. It lets you know that food is on the way. But it's not just the skin. It's not just seeing. It's not just smelling. It's not just touching. You can hear as well. You can see how the sound waves go through the ear. Now, don't play the horn in Parker's ear that loud. That would not be very kind, because that might harm her. But now we've been able to take a little bit of closer look, and so you might have some other things that you can look at and you can see about how the nervous system works with different things. If you've been drinking a decent amount of water, what happens is your kidney starts to filter that water and your bladder starts to fill up. When your bladder gets to a certain point, it sends a signal to your brain and it says, hey, I got to pee, right? You go and use the bathroom. You empty out your bladder and your brain senses, oh, your bladder is empty. You don't have that sense of, I have to go pee anymore. If you're really hot, your brain says, hey, I don't have enough water in me. I need to get some more water inside of me. So your brain is helping out with that as well. Your brain is involved in every process. When you're running and your body needs more oxygen, you start to breathe harder. You don't have to think about that. You automatically do it because your body is requiring more oxygen. So your brain is involved in all of that. And so the next set of videos that I'm going to make, I think I've got something really fun planned for Monday. And I really hate we're not at school for this, but we're still going to do it online. After Monday, we're going to do some videos that talk about how all of these partner together so you can wrap up your projects and be finished with everything And then we'll actually be moving on from the body systems into genetics. So that is the nervous system.